The story of Bendy and the Ink Machine is that of a retired cartoonist Henry Stein, invited back to his old workshop by his friend Joey Drew. To his dismay, the workshop has been changed and something sinister is lurking about. He finds an old printing press has been printing evil cartoons. Us, are now on a journey to escape our old workshop and kill the very thing that is hunting us. Bendy and the Ink Machine is an on-the-rails horror-inspired indie that gets a lot of things correct and very little wrong, from graphics all the way to the music. This game is a joy to play through. It feels as though the creator took BioShock, a game I loved and adored, and old Disney, and said, let's make a game set in a horrifying animation world. Its cartoony style grabs you from the beginning with a space that looks like you're in an editorial den with no preface as to why you're there. The game starts out slow and then ramps up to a masterpiece with very little bugs. If there was one gripe I have, it's not with the gameplay, but with the enemy difficulty. We'll get into that a little bit later. As for now, the enemy design was exceptionally done from characters we've all vaguely grown up with. From a guy with a camera on his head to an evil version of Goofy called Boris. Each character brings their own unique twist. Let's talk about graphics. I love the cel-shaded punk-esque world of Bendy. Feels like you're reading one, and I feel like I'm about to date myself here, but Sunday Time Comics in the back of the newspaper with its gritty, worn-out ink splash pages that have been left out in a smoker's room for way too long, giving this world an air of danger, mystique, and wonder. From a library that I could sit in for hours, to a multi-level warehouse, all rooms are meticulously expanding the lore with every detail. The music in this game is an absolute bop. Would recommend, 10 out of 10. Just don't pay too much attention to the lyrics. Each song will remind you of Disney with the loud horns and harmonies. Don't let it fool you though, because the lore itself is very gritty. It touches on what happens when you turn the game off. Do the characters have feelings? Do they die when you leave? Do they want to live? Think of Toy Story. We aren't told about the story solely through the music. In a very BioShock style, the game has recordings around every corner, hinting about the lore. From everything from the writing on the walls to the dripping of ink off the ceiling, everything has a purpose. Almost nothing is wasted in Bendy and the Ink Machine. The difficulty of this game is subpar. Child's play really. The enemies are slow and dumb. We never truly feel like we're one shot away from death, but I will give them credit where credit is due. The enemies are scary. Very scary, especially of how gritty the game looks. Having a very gray, yellow, black look, each enemy has that jump scare built right in. There was one level where we had to look for a couple of items in a very dark room, showing how great the set design is. The walls have the Bendy show playing, giving us a hint of the story in an oversimplified task. There was one enemy in the chapter called the Projectionist, a camera head in a dark room with only one light shining out, showing where he is. It felt as though we were trapped with a raging bull that we couldn't see. Unfortunately, the dumbness of the AI came up, causing the game to lose its scariness. I literally cheesed and killed him by accident. This happens a lot throughout the game, with so many new bosses and so many of the regular enemies. Bendy and the Ink Machine started to feel more like a tedious fetch game than an actual horror game, tying it to difficulty and basically ripping off BioShock. Oh, you want me to come here? What the f is that? No, absolutely not! I'm stuck. I'm stuck. Absolutely not. Oh my god, they're so fast! They're so fast! Bendy, please! The Holy Wrench makes an appearance. Though greatly underpowered and practically useless, all weapons in Bendy and the Ink Machines are melee two-hitters that have no real weight to them. I assume this was to bring you up close and personal with each enemy and increase the risk, but really, it felt as though I was hitting them with stuffed toys that did a lot of damage. Though I will say, smacking Boris with the weapons was an absolute joy. And last, but certainly not least, we can't have a Gardener's Game review without discussing the bathrooms. I give Bendy and the Ink Machine on bathrooms a solid 1 out of 10. We, the player, can literally see the bathrooms at some time, not able to enter them. There were even times where there were literally men and women's bathrooms, and the door would shake, just not allowed to enter it. Kind of a shame. Bendy and the Ink Machine is a great game that I would highly recommend to basically anyone. I give this game an 18 out of 20 bean soup in graphics and story, a 10 out of 20 bean soup on enemies, and a 5 out of 20 bean soup on difficulty. As an indie game being only $20 on Steam that regularly goes on sale, you get what you pay for and more. Did you know that Bendy and the Ink Machine has an animation adaptation based on the game itself? Pretty cool, right? Oh, Boris, buddy, oh pal, what have we gotten ourselves into now, buddy? I blame you. I don't know why I'm blaming you. I just blame you for all my problems. You're a very good hit stick.